Well, a lovely good morning and welcome to the Monday edition of the Camnet Breakfast Show. I'm Patrick Soko. It's been a while, but I'm back on your screens once again. I'm not alone in studio. I am joined by Nelson Zulu. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Soko, and welcome back.
Thank you.
We've been holding it down. Even at the time you...
With Miriam Kaimba.
Miriam Kaimba as well as Afias Kaptula.
Okay.
Yes, we've been gracing
Interesting.
the
I would have loved to see Mr. Kaptula.
It's really interesting. I mean, he's a man of composure. he was equal to the task.
Yeah. Well, our dear viewers, in case you are just tuning in, we are just getting started with the breakfast show. We apologize for starting the program a little bit later. This was due to some technical circumstances beyond our control. And right above now, we are going to go into our first segment, which is the Health Corner with the doctors. Keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. So this week we want to look at a rare condition. This week on the 28th of February is going to be Rare Disease Day. So we'll talk about a condition that is rarely seen, but also it's common in our setting here in Zambia. So we will talk about a condition called rickets. So we want to discuss what causes rickets, how does rickets come about, and also we want to talk about some of the signs and symptoms of rickets, and also how it's diagnosed and treated. And we'll also talk about the complications and how you can prevent your child from having rickets. So rickets is a condition that mostly affects children. Actually, it only affects children. Rickets affects children. And it's a condition where there is decreased amount of vitamin D in the body. And because of the reduced amount of vitamin D in the body, it causes reduced absorption of calcium and phosphates from the intestines into the body. Now, this results in having very soft and weak bones. So rickets is a condition where there is weakening or softening, weakening and softening of the bones. And this is as a result of having less vitamin D, which is important in the absorption of calcium and phosphate from the intestines. Now, our bones are made up of calcium and phosphate, and for them to be able to function well, to be able to be strong and to support the body, they need the calcium and the phosphate. And if they're not getting that calcium and phosphate from the body, then they will become weak and they will also become soft. So they'll start becoming weak and soft, and that's how people end up having rickets. And so this is how rickets usually comes about. We'll also discuss on another day how rickets, what are some of the other causes of rickets, and also we'll discuss some of the signs and symptoms on a different day. Make sure that you are watching the breakfast show and you're watching Camnet TV. So today we're learning that rickets is a condition that mostly affects children, and it affects children from as low as 3 months to adolescent age. And so we say that rickets is a condition where there is softening and weakening of the bones because of calcium or vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D is what helps our bodies to absorb the calcium and phosphate from our intestines into the blood, and helps the bones to utilize this calcium and the phosphate to make them strong and to make them able to function. And so that is how rickets comes about. If the body lacks vitamin D, or there's vitamin D deficiency. I do hope you have learned something today. Make sure you watch again tomorrow to know more about what are some of the other causes or how this vitamin D deficiency comes about. We'll see you again, and make sure that you stay healthy.
Well, there you have it. That was the Health Corner with Dr. Nakubiana Mufaya. I hope you did manage to learn one or two things there. And right about now, we have to go to our next segment where we get to know how the Kwacha is performing this morning. So we have to have the Kwacha billboard there. Okay, let's just take a short break. We'll be back on the other side.
Well,
Hey, join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power back to Hallelujah.
And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
Oh, welcome back. Sorry, we have to take a short break because of some technical challenges. But right about now, our money market is ready, and we're going to look at that. Nelson.
yes, the British pound is buying at 30 kwacha 16 ngwe, selling at 30 kwacha 75 ngwe, and the euro is buying at 25 kwacha 83 ngwe, selling at 26 kwacha 34 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 27 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 30 ngwe. And the United States dollar is buying at 24 kwacha 3 ngwe and selling at 24 kwacha 50 ngwe. The previous week were closing around somewhere 24 kwacha 36 ngwe, and today, as we start the new week, in as far as December is concerned, we're seeing the dollar at 24 kwacha 50 ngwe. Your immediate reaction to this?
Well, it shows that the kwacha has been depreciating, and that is not good news for Zambia, because we are seeing that the kwacha continues to lose its strength. Going into 25 kwacha against one United States dollar is something that has never happened, and it's likely to go there if measures are not put in place. But we continue to hear the Bank of Zambia continuing to intervene, but it shows that so far the measures that are being put in place are not adequate to support the interventions that are being put in place by the central bank. The central bank did revise the statutory reserve ratio, as well as revise the monetary policy rate just manage the currency. But on the other side, especially on the part of the executive, it seems that there are no much interventions that have been put in place to support the kwacha. This is under the Ministry of Finance. So the Bank of Zambia is doing its bit. The Ministry of Finance on the other side is not doing enough. The Ministry of Finance on the other side has a duty to push the manufacturing sector, to push the mining sector, to push production, in short, so that when we are producing more, that will go towards supporting our currency and it will be able to stabilize. What is happening is an indication of slow production in our economy. So that is putting a strain in the kwacha, because a kwacha is just a reflection of how various economic fundamentals are performing. So the kwacha is not an independent variable when it comes to the economic fundamentals. It is a dependent variable, so it acts based on other variables also. So depending on how the economy has been, we are not seeing a lot of dollars getting into the economy to support our kwacha. So that becomes difficult. So we see that the measure that has been put by the central bank is being eaten up. So we are lucky that we are not hitting 26 or 25 because the Energy Regulation Board, ERB, also the previous month they did maintain the same fuel pump price because if that was going to be the case, it was going to push a lot of prices upwards, and the inflation was not going to be kept in check. It was going to continue to escalate, and that was going to be also problematic for the economy. So now we are seeing that the kwacha has not seen any sign of stabilization. So in the long run, just like various economists have been suggesting, like Yusuf Dodia, that Zambia needs a strong currency, and also that is also sustainable. So for now, we don't have both of them. So we are in a very difficult situation economically as a country, but we keep our fingers crossed, that hoping that things will be better.
Get to stabilize. That is Patrick Soko there, trying to sound like an economist. Anyway, I like I like your general analysis, your general perspective, but let's bring it home. If you are watching us, what it means definitely for you is you don't have to be surprised if you find that you are buying a sachet of maybe washing paste at 25 kwacha, and then the other day it is at 30 kwacha. You don't have to be surprised, because these are things that are happening when it comes to the market. But right about now, let's go direct and start to look at some of the stories that were making headlines in our previous bulletin. And these stories also are very important to you. You can also bring the aspect of maybe your concern, your contribution in terms of what you think should be the case. I don't know the first story that we get to look at from your end.
So we have quite interesting stories, and we're going to do a roundup of stories, and we'll start with the story which is coming from the Agriculture Institute of Zambia. Has dispelled the perception that it wants to regulate institutions and farmers in the country. Institute Chief Executive Officer Matthew Zingosa says the institution exists to register professionals in the agriculture sector and ensure that it exhibits professionalism. They exhibit professionalism in their conduct. Speaking during the training of smallholder farmers on fish and chicken smoking by remnant farmers in Lusaka, Mr. Ngosa is happy that the organization is complying with the law. So we are going to also look at another story where the National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZA, says the revised 2023 education curriculum framework will enable pupils acquire necessary skills before tertiary education. And let's also look at a story where the Emeralds and Semi-Precious Stones Mining Association of Zambia President Victor Kalesha has urged the stakeholders not to politicize the Senseli mine accident. So we are going to look at these three stories, and we'll be back on the other side. Keep it on Camnet TV. And today we have a guest, and we're going to be discussing issues that are happening in political parties. In case you did not know what happened to the PF in terms of the convention happened to the NDC. So we are going to be looking at that a little later. Keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel. Value addition is necessary for the provision of food that is of high quality and safe for human consumption. This process plays an important role in building resilient industries and provides numerous benefits to the well-being of domestic economies such as employment creation, poverty reduction, increase in foreign exchange earnings, and economic growth. The Remnant Farmers Organization has been proactive in driving Zambia's quest to steer value addition in the agriculture sector by empowering smallholder farmers. Remnant farmers have embarked on a program of training farmers and business enthusiasts to add value to fish and chicken by utilizing the concept of smoking for a higher price value. Ruth Sibanda is Remnant Farmers Organization founder.
So we are building a complete farmer who is able to farm, add value, market and sell. So we are teaching farmers on how to farm as a profit and not just a way of doing things. So if farmers can do 8 months, can farm for 8 months, which is fish, from there they add value, they market and do the sales. Farmers are going to make a lot of money. The second thing that we have taught them is how to smoke chicken. Right now, chicken is at 100 kwacha. You add value to it. The minimum you can sell, like ShopRite, it's at 180. These others you find 160, 170. So instead of you just selling as it is raw at 100 kwacha, why don't you smoke it and you sell at 170? There is market for smoked chickens.
Those who have benefited from the training say the training would enable them to be self-reliant.
Most of the time, many people withhold information, on value addition, but I think the Remnant Farmer has come up in open to train as many people as possible. And I think this is a great idea which must be supported at every level.
Let's talk of fish. This is a good business that anybody can learn. Smoking chicken, it's equally a good business that I didn't know, and I've come to learn, and I have learned how to do this, and I know that even when I go out there, I can do this, I can start a business of my own, and I can be a young rich farmer in the near future.
This knowledge that I'm getting, I'll be able to go and teach my friends so that they know how to preserve their food even. And also maybe given a chance, maybe go into a school and teach the girl child, even the boy child out there. Nowadays it's not just about the girl child, it's also about the boy child.
And the Agriculture Institute of Zambia utilized the occasion to dispel the perception that it wants to regulate institutions and farmers in the country. Institute Chief Executive Officer Matthew Ngosa has hailed the Remnant farmers for upholding the dictates of the law and contributing towards value addition in the country.
Now employing agronomists, they are also employing animal scientists to complement their training needs. So that is a very, very welcome development, and would want to urge the corporate or the entrepreneurs out there that are also involved in training to emulate Remnant. What we shared with the farmers was purely to dispel the narrative that AIZ is there to regulate the institutions, which includes the farmers. The AIZ is specifically there for the registration of agricultural professionals, and it's also there to ensure that we are regulating their professional conduct in the best interest of the agricultural sector.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Advocating for the implementation of the two-tier education system. Remember, there's the academic part and also there is the vocational part. So looking at the curriculum in question, we feel this has been met. And we say congratulations to Minister of Education for the job well done. We know that this is going to take a lot of time, a lot of money to implement. We shouldn't be in a hurry. Let's have resources, because the change of the curriculum may even call for the change of the infrastructure that you have in place. We cannot fail to have mining as a component at secondary school and as a subject at primary school now, as a component, and as a subject at secondary school. It's because God has blessed us with a lot of minerals and we need to take advantage of these minerals to develop ourselves. So we need mining in the curriculum. We cannot have a situation where we are told we don't have a mining expert, a mining insurance expert in Zambia, when these are coming from countries that don't have minerals.
The Senseli mine accident in Chengola district is among worst tragedies in the history of Zambian mining. The calamity exposes the challenges citizens go through to earn a living in a copper-rich country confronted by high unemployment levels. The rescue team searching for the trapped miners at the mine in Chengola has so far managed to retrieve 7 people since the operation began 9 days ago, and among the retrieved people, 6 are dead and 1 is alive. Various stakeholders, including President Hakainde Hichilema, have visited the accident sites, and many more continue to do so.
Otherwise, copper belt, fumia copper, tetukwate abana balachula muri uyu musango, abalenonkera muri copper, bali bambi. So tulero mbobu teko ko batuloleke shepo babwafi obuli kuno.
A consortium of small-scale miners and gemstone traders under the Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association of Zambia and the Emerald and the Semi-Precious Stones Mining Association of Zambia also visited the site to appreciate the magnitude of the problem and donated food items. Speaking on behalf of the Emerald Association of Zambia, Victor Kalesha emphasized the need not to politicize the accident.
Small-scale miners, we tell our colleagues to be calm and not to speculate on things that are happening over here. Do not speculate. I think there is a command center where the minister and at the DC's office, they are giving briefs, and every other information that you are seeing on social media, bodies lying down, is not true. What is true is what is happening here. People are working day in, day out to just and see if they can retrieve many more other people that are trapped into there. So as an association, we are standing in solidarity with the government. We want to make sure that we stand with them. We brought in a donation. We will keep on bringing more things to donate to support this noble cause. It's unfortunate that some politicians want to politicize. It's not necessary. We are Zambians, we are a Christian nation. Let's work with the government to make sure that this operation comes to an end.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News. Well, there you have it. That is a story pertaining to the Senseli mine. And for now, Nelson, what is the confirmation of the bodies that have been retrieved this far?
Well, information we are having is that so far about 12 individuals have been retrieved from the operations that are still undergoing. Remember that today marks exactly 11 days since the operation started in Senseli mine in Chengola. So we've got about 12 people that have been retrieved. 11 have been confirmed dead, and then 1 is the only survivor that is receiving treatment at Inchanga Hospital. And we see that information that we're getting at the moment continues to suggest that operations are ongoing, and the president is likely to be in Chengola today for the mass burial of about 9 victims.
So we are going to follow that story up, and we just so that we can continue to update you pertaining to this story. So right about now, we are going to look at the rest of the stories as we zoom in the headlines. Then we'll be ready for our interview. Make sure that you stick around to also, so that you can also give us your perspective pertaining to the intra-party wrangles that we are seeing. Now we have the NDC, and we saw one NDC going for a convention, just like we saw the PF, one PF led by Mao Sampa, aka Mbappe, went for a convention, and they are now calling the shots. Yeah. And we are going to see the other NDC also calling the shots, and we are, you know, the NDC is also the one is led by Madam Saboimbe. The other one was led by George Sichula. However, they were an acting person there in the name of Joseph Kasonde. Yeah. So we just get a look at some of the stories, Nelson, there, then we get ready for our interview.
All right, some of the stories we get to look at this morning is a call by a civic leader on government to fine-tune the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, to make it effective in the 2024 national budget. Government increased CDF allocation from 28.6 million kwacha in 2023 to 30.6 million kwacha in the 2024 national budget. Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mainda Smata says currently the process of benefiting from the funds from the point of application to being a beneficiary befits the purpose of the funds. And the research as well as consultant Professor Lewis Chilufya underscores the need to look at who appoints members of the Ward Development Committee to avoid political interference in the implementation of CDF. Another story that we get to look at is also that of a lawmaker who has expressed disappointment over the decision by Parliament to reject a motion championing the right of persons with disabilities. Last week, a motion proposing the introduction of sign language and braille writing as optional subjects in all public schools was rejected. And then the other story we also get to look at is that from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, who are advising people of Northwestern Province to be patient as mediation talks in the Ndungu and Kucheka Royal Throne succession dispute in Zambezi District are key to resolving the issue in an amicable manner. Local Government and Rural Development Minister Gary Nkombo says people should allow conclusion of the mediation process being led by Senior Chief Chiwala and Mujima Nzovu. Mr. Nkombo says the ministry is executing its mandate through facilitating for the parties to come up with mediating teams in a bid to secure an amicable solution to resolving the succession dispute. These are some of the stories that we get to look at, and later on we transition into our interview.
Constituency Development Fund, CDF, is meant to lift the standards of living for citizens in the country, increased from 28 million kwacha to 30.6 million kwacha. Stakeholders argue that the increase may not increase the effectiveness of the funds without evaluating the performance of the previous year and addressing challenges with the guidelines. According to a police brief paper on the resourcing of ward development committees and its impact on the effectiveness in executing their functions, research by the Civil Society for Decentralization Analysis, CSO done, the implementation and application of CDF to many is not free from external political pressure, corruption, among others. The research also revealed that WDCs have no provisions for the construction of physical office spaces, which has led to them to pay for transport costs. In order to address these challenges, Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mainda Smata says there is a need to fine-tune the CDF guidelines and improve its effectiveness. Mr. Smata is of the view that fine-tuning CDF guidelines could create a pathway for the success of the program.
The increment of the CDF is something that is welcome, but at the same time we need to fine-tune some of the guidelines and processes that are involved in the CDF. For example, we need to ensure that the processes of application up to the point of where this money is released for service delivery in the wards or for empowerment, the processes have to be reduced, because the processes which are currently there are so lengthy that at times it takes 6 months to 1 year for a project to be actually implemented and seen on the ground. And this is causing some people to even wonder if really CDF is there or it's working for them. While in real fact is that the CDF is there, it's there for the people and it is working, but it's not working at the pace at which us as civic leaders would want it to work.
A researcher and consultant, Professor Lewis Chilufya, who took part in the police paper on CDF by CSO Dan, observes that fine-tuning the CDF guidelines is key because political compromise at the ward committee level is a result of the appointing authority.
From the one who appoints members of the WDCs, the ward development committees, you'll see the hand of, in some wards, the influence, the big influence of, for instance, MPs influencing the appointment of members. But also when it comes to disbursement of funds, you also see again a variation. In some wards, the process is open, the process is transparent. In other words, you see big influence from MPs and other political leaders influencing decisions as to who benefits from the CDF.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka. Since 2010, Zambia has been a member of international treaties such as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD, which aims to promote, protect and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, as well as to promote respect for their inherent dignity. In 2012, Zambia domesticated the Persons with Disabilities Act No. 6 of 2012, focusing on empowering persons with disabilities to be an integral part of mainstream society. But over the years, about 1.5 million citizens living with disabilities have faced discrimination and an unequal distribution of resources as major barriers. Last Wednesday, Acting Minister of Community Development and Social Services, Rodney Sikumba, rejected a motion put forth by independent Chiengi Member of Parliament, Given Katuta, advocating for the introduction of sign language and braille writing as optional subjects in public schools in the country on grounds that government already introduced braille writing and sign language as an option in the Zambian curriculum framework of 2013. But Chilubi Member of Parliament Mlenga Fube has expressed disappointment, explaining that the government missed a chance to address gaps that exist in attaining inclusivity in the country.
And I can safely say that the majority of those some schools are not government schools. And government schools are a good space for people to acquire education and people of different characteristics. The differently disabled who find the space much in government schools because one, they are cheaper and they can be driven by public policy. So to do what was done is an assault to people with disabilities. And I think we need to start reasoning better in Parliament, where we should not just be using arrogance of numbers. That was a good motion and a non-controversial motion, which we do not see need that it should have suffered that kind of misfortune.
Meanwhile, Disability Rights Watch Chairperson Joseph Monsanje says the turning down of the motion in Parliament is welcome because the implementation of braille writing as a compulsory subject in public schools is costly, which would call for new recruitment of teachers, materials, among others.
That motion could not pass through. It's got huge budgetary costs to start buying braille for every school in the country and to train so many teachers to teach everybody braille, which they will not use there when they are out there in public. What we want and advocating is to assistive technology for every person who is totally blind, and then sign language as an official eighth language, which we have introduced in a number of institutions, and we will be actually reviewing and coming back with an improved version of a motion so that certain things can be taken care of. Some of them can be taken care of by a statutory instrument, which the minister can issue, the Minister of Community Development or the Minister of Education.
In a statement, the Disability Rights Watch, however, notes that the persons with disabilities in Zambia have continued to be treated as objects of charity and social welfare assistance with very little effort invested in tapping into their potential to contribute to development as active members of society. This is in the wake of the World Human Rights Day being observed under the theme Dignity, Freedom and Justice for All. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
As you may be aware, my ministry is charged with the responsibility of attending to the welfare of Royal Highnesses in the country, including facilitating for smooth administration of traditional affairs and governance. I wish to reiterate government's desire that while parties have inherent rights to seek legal redress whenever they feel aggrieved in the administration of the customary matters, customary institutions and systems, including the royal families, clans, the House of Chiefs should be the first point of call for customary disputes, as these institutions are well vested in and competent to adjudicate over customary issues, including the succession disputes. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank once again the Royal Highnesses who have heeded to the government's call to resolve all customary disputes within the customary and traditional systems. and not through the courts of law, as we prescribe. We have seen increased efforts and commitment from royal families across the country to try and resolve these matters outside the court, domestically, and this is very, very commendable. We encourage those who are still in court to also pursue the avenue of dialogue among themselves. In particular, and more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, for this particular occasion we're here for this morning, I wish to express my gratitude, sincere gratitude, to the Vakashinyama royal dynasty. In particular for reaching out to us in government through the ministry that I'm privileged to run, to ask the ministry to facilitate the mediation bid to secure a resolution that is sustainable and long-lasting to the succession dispute of the Ndungu as well as the Kucheka royal thrones in Zambezi district of our northwestern province.
Still staying with us, and we are back just like we earlier alluded to the fact that we'll be joined or transitioning into our first interview, or our main interview if you like, because we do understand that in recent weeks there's been a hive of activities when it comes to the country's political space. What is actually happening to the Patriotic Front? What is happening to other opposition political parties? And we do get information that also there was yesterday an attempt, others refer to it as an attempt to actually have a general conference, and as far as the NDC is concerned, and look at how things get to unfold. But this morning we were joined by Fabian Mutale, who's also a founding member when it comes to the Patriotic Front, as well as a democratic or governance activist. Good morning, Mr. Mutale.
Morning, Nelson. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Your first reaction in terms of what is happening to the former ruling party, as well as what we saw yesterday about to transpire in Cabo.
Well, the PF problems currently are self-inflicted. You know, we've had this issue of succession since time immemorial, and the PF should have learned a lesson as far back as 2014 when the great man Michael Sata died. You know, progression from one leadership to the other should be pre-prepared. But the PF seemed not to have learned a lesson in the 2014-2015 era. More so, the PF decided to procrastinate in terms of the Congress, and I think that was the beginning of their problems.
So now, why do you say they delayed? Do you feel it had something to do with the intention that former President Edgar Lungu wanted to recontest in 2026?
Well, that is a presumption, especially that immediately the PF started extending the date of the Congress, people started smelling a rat, as it were. Remember, as far back as last year, we were told that the Congress or convention was going to take place by April thereabout. April passed. The next thing we heard is that they were trying to refine the party constitution in order to allow those that were ineligible to be eligible. But alas, you and me realized to say the same people that they were saying were not eligible were actually part of the Central Committee, which was sitting to refine the same constitution, which was going to bar them if it was not refined. Fast forward, whether there was need to refine the constitution, but they should have had a time frame. You cannot have a program that has no time frame. And you know, PF in nature, from the time it was formed, it has been a party of activities. Believe you me, from 2021 up to now, the PF membership, genuine PF membership, has been jet-lagged. They have been waiting to continue activities. Remember Michael Sata, may he so rest in peace. Immediately, they lost an election. He went back to the people, thanked them for the vote, continued campaigning for the next election. We have not seen that in PF because they have just been looking at who is going to succeed. And that's what brings the presumption that maybe the delay was to allow for the coming back of ECR, because there is certainly no justification why the Congress or the convention as it were was just going to be postponed.
As a PF founder member, do you feel there's hope for this political party, or it is gone?
Well, hope is there. The PF, you can only say PF is gone if it's deregistered. The PF is there, and it's still
forming office again.
On the formation of office, it's up to the people of Zambia. You know, when you are in the opposition, you provide checks and balances, and arising from that, people able to see what alternative you can offer. Remember, we are coming from a background where the PF was viewed as a ruthless political party.
Has that changed?
Well, it can only change when there's a leadership in place. There hasn't been a leadership. That's why you see the issue of Mao Sampa coming in. There hasn't been a leadership. You know, you cannot run a party on autopilot. The PF has been on autopilot since 2021 because the acting president was actually, in my view, getting background instructions on what to do next and how to go about it. That's why you've seen from the time the PF lost elections. Remember, I'm referring to the old PF, where immediately after elections, you sit back and say, where did we go wrong? Let's go back to the people, thank them for their vote, appeal to them again, accept our mistakes. But what have we seen? We've seen from 2021, only a selected few PF leaders on TV, on radio, and not to the grassroots. And you can't run a political party like that.
In your preamble, you say the problems that are happening in the Patriotic Front now are self-inflicted. But PF legal chairman, counsel or lawyer, George Chisanga, said that's a misguided perception because they allege that there's an invisible hand from the government.
When I say they're self-inflicted, I'm talking about leadership. You and me, we are meant to believe that the convention was going to take place as far back as April this year. We are in December. The convention has not taken place. What is the reason? We are refining the constitution. And the constitution, amongst many clauses, the contentious one was basically to allow those that could not be eligible to stand. Now look at this. You allow people to file in nominations. 200,000 paid. You put them in an election mode. Then you're not telling them anything. Remember, when people hear we are going to elect a tentative leader, they get excited. They have preferences within the political parties. They start campaigning for their political parties. Then it just goes quiet. When you interview the Central Committee, they say, no, we are working in the background. What was the working in the background? Preparation of the Constitution. Okay, fine. They said, we are done with the draft Constitution. We are going to have a constitutional conference where the Constitution is going to be amended. Did it take place? That didn't take place because arising from the constitutional conference that was supposed to adopt the Constitution that was being prepared, then the conference was supposed to be called. But even up to now, it is them, the leaders, that we are calling for. So that's what I'm saying. The problems are self-inflicted because you cannot continue promising the party members and not fulfilling. And here we are, checkmated by Mao Sampa.
Now, how does hope come into place with the former ruling party when it has got self-inflicted problems that are within it?
When you talk about hope, I don't know in what context you're using the word hope. I said the PF in its current situation is still a registered political party, opposition political party. So it's still there. Whether they have got the internal problems, it's still there. However, the internal problems are self-inflicted. And I insist on that one. If the Central Committee had called a conference as far back as April, elect a tentative leader who was going to have the power to drive the party, give direction to the general membership, PF wouldn't have been in the current state because it's in a coma but still alive. It's in a coma but still alive.
So now, Mr. Mtani, it's in a coma but still alive. It's another connotation. Now, one may also seek what goes into your mind as someone who believes in this political party. Do you feel the leadership has done justice to your political party, or you feel let down somehow?
I don't feel let down because no one owes me you know, as a politician, you belong to an organization voluntarily. But I actually feel disappointed that the party that people looked up to from the time Michael Sata started it can just be in disarray as it is now. They are blaming an invisible hand. I'm borrowing his word, Mr. Zulu's word, to say an invisible hand. What invisible hand? What? That is the invisible hand that you want to understand, because whether there is an invisible hand or not, the onus is on the leadership, especially those that have seen an invisible hand, to act. And action was supposed to be taken. An invisible hand on who? If they know the problem known is halfway solved, but if they knew the problem, why were they not solving it? I'm not, I don't feel let down. I'm actually disappointed that the leadership now can cry an invisible hand when they had an opportunity to go to a congress or conference, as it were, and elect a substantive leader to replace the former president, Dr. ECL. Here we are now. Here we are in disarray. Mao Sampa, as it stands, according to the documents. I don't want to go into court matters, but according to the documents, Mao Sampa is the PF president. Now we have a faction. We have a faction. The legitimate and the illegitimate. So it's up to the courts now to decide who is legitimate.
Historically, we have come to learn that political matters are not better solved in courts. And we've seen political parties that would being affected. What would be your take regarding this? Because we don't know when these court cases will be done away with.
Precisely. That is the route the PF should have avoided. The buck stops at the PF leadership. I remember very well Michael Sata in 2008 when Lupiabos and Banda won elections. May his soul rest in peace. Their souls rest in peace. He actually petitioned those elections. But along the way, he withdrew and actually addressed the nation to say, let's go back to the drawing board. No election has ever been won in court. Meaning that you need to get back to the people. You don't need to do politics in court. Look at this, Mr. Soko. You have a party constitution formulated by yourselves. Then you decide to take it to court for them to interpret for you. Why don't you have an in-house discussion over the document that you prepared and presented to the Register of Societies for the purposes of registration of a party? These are some of the issues that could be avoided if leaders had a round table discussion. But the problem that lies in almost all political parties is that the person at the helm always has an interested person who they don't want to unveil, but they keep it to themselves. When they see another person amongst the members gaining popularity, they start doing what they call pull him down, the PhD syndrome. And here we are. No proper succession disputes in all the political parties that have left government. You saw what happened in the NMD. Now it's the PF. In fact, even UNIP itself, and I hope the current government is learning from the scenes that are taking place.
Well, our dear viewers, in case you are just joining us, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, and in studio we have Fabian Mutale, who is the PF founder member and also an advocate of democracy, and we are discussing intra-party wrangles. And as you have seen in the PF and the NDC now joining the same situation. Now we have to look at another aspect, Mr. Mutale. Where, let's say, it's not only the PF now, we also have the NDC. What is going on?
Well, it all comes to one thing: succession disputes. The NDC in its current form, the problems started as far back as 2019. If I can remember. Remember, I was actually a member of the Central Committee, Deputy National Chairperson for Mobilization under NDC. Immediately, the elections were almost coming up in 2021 at about April, where we saw the party president then, Dr. Chimbakambwili, quoting the PF. Then that is where the problems started. Because, you know, as a club, as a party, there is what we call collective agreement. At that time, the NDC had resolved to be in an alliance with the UPND and other political parties as far back as 2019. This alliance had always been there. But a few months before elections, I think a lot of activities happened centered on Dr. Chimbakambwili, who at that time was quoting the PF without the knowledge of other Central Committee members. He resigned, and he actually appointed a substantive person to take over from him. At that particular time, there was an injunction that was filed by the then Vice President, restraining Dr. Kambwili from masquerading as a PF and as an NDC president. And the matter was in court. Alas, what happened. He went on, appointed my sister Savoy Emboyela, and that's where the problems started. Savoy Emboyela supported PF during the 2021 elections, or the Akafumba-led NDC supported UPND, or continued, let me put it correctly, Savoy's NDC supported PF by virtue of Dr. Chimbakambwili aligning himself with the PF, while the Vice Presidency led NDC supported or continued supporting the NDC, the UPN, because they had already been in an alliance. Now, look at this. This is a political party that has been in an alliance for 3 years. And you have a party president who never attends alliance meetings but opts to send the vice president. And in this case, Akafumba, the current PS for Home Affairs now. You send your vice president, all deliberations are reported back to you. Then, at the time you decide to part ways with your own political party, to form another political party, you don't engage your vice president and other Central Committee members that this is the route you are taking, only to announce, say, I'm going, for now, I have nothing to do with the party. However, I'm appointing this person to take over from me. And that is where the problem starts, succession disputes.
So how can we avoid this trend? Because we continue to see it among these political parties. Is it the failure to respect the convention and just allow the due process of their constitutions to elect leaders prevail? Because sometimes people tend to avoid this process. If you have observed, they would say they have anonymously endorsed person A. Then to avoid an election, you would find that all the provincial people have come to endorse the candidate of this person. And at the end of the day, others will feel, but let's contest. Where are you bringing
Mr.
people on board?
Mr. Soko, the problem of Zambian political parties are person-centered. That is the problem. They are person-centered. People belong to a political party because of the person leading it. No one believes in ideologies. No one believes in ideologies. If we believed in ideologies of organizations we belong to, you cannot just endorse any particular person. You refer to your self-prescribed rules, which are party constitutions. What does the constitution say? Why should you endorse? Why should you endorse when the constitution, your own constitution, says a president or leader A and B shall be elected in this manner? So this issue of endorsement is purely stage managed and patronaged by selected few who start championing the cause because the same leader has in the background told them to do so. It's in black and white. You cannot just wake up today and say, I'm endorsing this person, when you have a party constitution that tells you to say, for a president or another leader to be elected, to be put in an office, they have to go to a convention. So all of these wrangles come back to one thing. Mr. Soko, if I was to form a political party today, I'll form it for the membership. I'll form it for the membership. And every member is a shareholder and stakeholder. Meaning that when I am party president at any given time, I'm not omnipotent. I'm not the alpha and the omega. But currently, the leaders of these political parties are alphas and omegas because they invest in their personal money to register the political parties and they feel ownership.
How can we change this scenario? Because it will continue to confront.
Change begins with you and me. I'm telling you right now, I'm a democracy advocate. I'm advocating for proper democracy in all the political parties. I'm saying what is happening in PF is wrong, leadership problems. What is happening in ADC is wrong, leadership problems. And I hope the ruling party at the moment is also learning from what has been happening. The solution lies within the leadership. If me as a member believes in the fundamentals of my political parties, I'll stand by those fundamentals. I'm not going to be swayed by a particular leader with vested personal interest to derail my thinking. So we should believe in fundamentals of a political party.
Well, our dear viewers, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, Monday edition, and we have in studio Mr. Fabian Mutale, and he's helping us to discuss issues pertaining to intra-party wrangles. In case you want to join us, you can leave us a message on our Facebook page, and let's get interacting. You can equally give us a call on that number that is on your screen, and we can get interacting. And we are seeing that the new political party that is confronted with internal wrangles once again is the National Democratic Congress, where we've seen the Akafumba-led NDC has opted for a general conference, and where they want to elect their leaders. And we see that the others at the moment, the Savoy-led NDC is the one that has office bearers at the Registrar of Societies. And soon, we are going to see what happened with Mao Sampa, where the office bearers were changed for the PF, and Mr. Sampa is calling the shot, and is right about now is made quite intense decisions, and that's opting to suspend some senior party officials. Right about now, let's pick this call, and we keep interacting. You are through to the Camnet Breakfast Show. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
I seem to have lost that call.
I think we have lost that call.
Yes,
now, I was talking about the issue pertaining to the MPs who have been suspended by Mao Sampa, and because we may be having a by-elections,
yes.
But is that something the country wants, with the kwacha trading at 24 kwacha?
Yes, before we get to that,
United States dollar.
yes, before we get to that, let me quickly correct you. In Zambia, there is no Akafumba-led NDC. In Zambia, the PS for Home Affairs Council Akafumba handed over power to Mwenyamsenge when he was appointed PS. Mwenyamsenge later left the NDC, and George Sichula was appointed substantive acting president. And now we hear when George Sichula was sent in the diplomatic service, Mr. Nyerenda was appointed acting president. And the so-called convention that we had yesterday was meant to ratify the appointment of Mr. Nyerenda. So I just wanted to make a correction that there is no Akafumba-led NDC.
But you and I politically are aware that Mr. Akafumba is pending court cases that his name is attached to, pertaining to the NDC and involved with his colleague, Mr. Chishimba Kambwili. Right about now, let's pick this call. You are through to the Camnet Breakfast Show. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes. May we have your name and where you are calling us from, sir?
I'm calling from Mugini Isaka, the alumnus of Dallas area.
Okay, we are talking to Mr.
Yes. Let me comment over this issues which are the party. Good morning, Daniel.
Morning, thank you.
I think when you talk about here, there will be any of the issues of the by-election. Because when you look at the election, applies to the issues of workers' homeland. The legitimate leaders who are supposed to be there are Mr. Museveni and the others. Same applies to PF. PF, they have the president examined. So where is the direction going to be? The direction going to be held. The thing is, more Salva is that a local in terms of the transition. So, if the Mao Salva is being sponsored by the acting power, or the spokesperson or the government spokesperson denies that. If you saw a child to say, to kill the opposition in the country. So where are we going? And why did not the Mount and come on and put it to say, no, hey, I'm the president and now the campaigning. But right now, where is he? So there is not any direction here, and the leadership needs to go in President and the other guys. Mount is nothing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution there. You too can give us your opinion on the Camnet breakfast show, and we get interacting pertaining to our topic of discussion. That's where we are exploring issues bordering on intra-party wrangles. And our previous caller was just saying Mao Sampa is neither here nor there, and that the issues pertaining to the leadership, as far as it's concerned, for the NDC, Madam Saboyimbwela is the substantive leader, and for the PF, former President Edgar Lungu is the substantive leader. Your take on that, Mr. Mutale?
I limit myself from discussing on matters that are court related because I fear courts. Now, just to comment on exactly what he has said. Look here, the legitimacy or illegitimacy thereof does not arise for now. What do I mean? We've seen changes being made at the Register of Societies, making Mao Samba legitimate for now until the courts rule otherwise. So the status quo as of now, is that Mao Samba is the PF president because there is no injunction restraining Mao Samba from continuing his activities. More so, we've seen changes made by Mao Samba ratified right in parliament where laws are made. We've seen changes in terms of the leader of the opposition. Right now, Honorable Mundubiri is no longer the leader of opposition, but Chavinga. So when we are talking about legitimacy, let's look at the status quo. That is what is going to guide us until the courts rule otherwise. Coming to the NDC problems were not started by the UPND government. That is where people should not be misled. These problems were started by the PF themselves. That's why, in all fairness, the PF in its current form are actually biting their own bullet. The PF in government actually deregistered the NDC. It had to take the legal team led by the Vice President then, Akafumba, to fight the matter in court until the courts in Ndola reinstated the status of the NDC. So if people are going to talk about who is legitimate and illegitimate, they're being unfair if they have not followed through what has been happening, especially in NDC.
Well, we're talking about issues relating to legitimacy and everything. But one question also that keeps on popping up is the fact that government has got a hand in whatsoever that is happening in the opposition parties. I would also like to draw you back to say, even before the changes were made at the National Assembly, when Robert Chavinga was appointed as a leader of the opposition, there was a status that was given by the Speaker of the National Assembly to say, despite what is happening, there shall be a stance to that effect to wait on what the courts are going to do. So now, was it really the due process of the law at hand applying, because Chavinga was ratified in Parliament as the leader of the opposition when there was also word given to say, let's wait on what the courts are going to do on this issue.
Mr. Zulu, I follow through current affairs because I don't want to be misled or to mislead. At the time, Chavinga was being announced as the official leader of the opposition. Remember, there was an injunction which was quashed in the courts. Remember, I'm restraining myself from talking about the courts, but I'll refer to things that passed. The PF, the given Winda-led PF, was given an injunction, but later on it was quashed. And I think that is what gave impetus to the Speaker to announce and go ahead with the changes. Whether there was an invisible hand or not, it's not for me to tell, because what I'm talking about is what is plain to your eye and to my eye. The PF, Luwinda-led PF had an injunction which was quashed because there was a matter in court where Mao Sampa had actually, and the matter is still in court, sued, restraining given Luwinda and other leaders from masquerading as leaders. A ruling has not been made to that effect until such a time that that matter is disposed of. Then we are going to be given direction. Just like recently, when Mao Sampa was expelled, the Speaker actually ruled to say she cannot effect the nullification of the material seat because it is a preserve of the court. So the Speaker is also guided by the court. That's what I'm saying. These intra-party issues, for as long as we continue going to court, we shall spend too much time fighting in court, and people are looking forward to us provide checks and balances to the government of the
But is it not worrying that time and again stakeholders, even the previous caller, talked about the invisible hand coming in to sponsor some of the happenings in these opposition political parties? Because even the DC themselves yesterday, they indicated that these were state-sponsored activities.
I'll be very blunt on that one. I've been a member of both, a founding member for that matter, of both the NDC and the PF. And immediately you attach emotions to a matter at hand, you lose it. We should not talk with emotions. We should not have vested interest. When a matter is presented to us, let's look at it objectively. What is happening? Remember my preamble was, what is happening in PF is self-inflicted. If the PF had gone to the convention in April, Mao Sampa wasn't going to checkmate them in the manner he has checkmated them. If the NDC was not disturbed by the PF themselves to create the unnecessary wrangles that are currently taking place, the NDC would have been a stable political party. So the PF are the major culprits in all these things that are happening in both the PF and both the NDC.
So would we say that since having been a founder member of the PF, do you still belong to the PF, or do you even endorse the Mount Sampa PF? It is still the same PF or the same?
I'm a founding member of the PF. We formed NDC because we were aggrieved in the PF. At the time, my boss then, because I was a private secretary, by virtue of my office, we went back to the PF and we campaigned for the PF for the 3 months prior to elections. After the elections, I reclined to myself political line, which is democracy advocacy, and I've remained like that since 2021. I'm a democracy advocate, but I've got the right, like any other person, to comment about the party that I helped form, or the parties that I helped form, both the PF and the NDC. Remember, I was the first youth chairperson from Nari constituents before I trekked to the Copper Belt. And I was actually a member of the Central Committee in the NDC, Deputy National Chairperson for Mobilization. So I've got vested interest in the activities going on, in the leadership wrangles, and all I can do is to provide guidance and air my concern and my considered view and the solutions thereof.
As we come towards the end of our discussion, Mr. Mutale, we want to get your perspective pertaining to the way forward pertaining to these intra-party wrangles that we are seeing as a country. I know they won't be ending at the moment, given that, like you said, you did raise a point that most political parties are formed on personal-centered and as opposed to people-centered. So how can we change the narrative? Because at the end of the day, we have a democracy to build as a country.
The membership, let them stop being used. Because a leader who identify the weak souls and champion their cause, that is the mistake number one. So the membership should align themselves to the fundamentals of a political party and not to individuals. Because individuals, as it were, are just mortals like everyone else. They're bound to mislead or lead. So going forward, we want to see political parties that are centered on fundamentals. They should stick to their party constitutions, follow their rules set by themselves, and I think we are going to see a change of the way political parties are run.
Well, our dear viewers, you've been watching the Camnet Breakfast Show Monday edition, and we've been talking about intra-party wrangles here in studio with Mr. Fabian Mutale, who is the PF founder member and an advocate of democracy in the country. No, sir.
Yes, indeed, and there are a lot of submissions that have been made, and we do value your contributions that have come through via our Facebook platform, as well as those phone calls that have been made. But we call it a day, being a Monday, and we say happy new weekend to you. And for me, Nelson Zulu, as well as Patrick Soko, and our guest, Mr. Fabian Mutale, it's thank you so much. Bye for now.